Hi everybody, so my name is Kelly Smith. I'm the coordinator of sales and service here at the Athletics and Recreation Center, and we're very excited to have you all here for our first quarterback club of 2019. It's great to see some familiar faces that normally see in the fall and the winter, so that's great. So we're happy to have our passionate fans, alumni, media, and supporters here with us today as the Gaels football program starts to take shape for a new era. So first, we're going to hear from Leslie Dowson, who's our Executive Director of Athletics and Recreation.
Thanks, Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm delighted to welcome you and to the Quarterback Club and our special Meet the Coach event. Today, we were very fortunate to have Principal Wolf stop by, and then, of course, our Vice Provost and Dean of Student Affairs, Ann Turney, is in the room, with many members of our football coaching staff, who you might have the opportunity to meet, and our football alumni, and so many of you are friends and supporters of Gaels football. Thank you all for coming today. As Kelly said, this is a very exciting day for Queen's football. But before we look forward, it's important, I think, that we take a moment to recognize and thank Coach Pat Sheehan for his leadership of our program for the past 19 years. In addition to Coach Sheehan's commitment and impact and the enhancement of the student lives of so many players that he coached, he was instrumental in introducing things like the Gale Forest Gala Dinner and many other alumni initiatives that helped lead to the inevitable construction of Richardson Stadium. And of course, who can not forget the magic of our 2009 Vanier Cup win? So Pat, thank you very much for that. I also want to take a minute and thank Coach Ryan Bachmanis, who provided tremendous leadership to the program during our coach transition period. Ryan, thank you. This was invaluable, all at a time when you were expecting your new son. So we have a new Gael for the class of
2036.
2036. And I look forward to working with you as our assistant head coach and defensive coordinator, as well as all the other members of our football staff moving forward. And that brings us to today, and today's special introduction. Football, as you know, holds a very special place in the history of Queens and in our athletic department. It is the crown jewel of our sports program at Queens, touching the lives of students, student athletes, generations of alumni, our community, our fans and supporters, and now with the introduction of our Junior Gaels program and partnership with the Grenadiers, future generation of young developing athletes, coaches, parents, supporters, and fans. With our storied history, anytime we contemplate a change in our football program, it's a big deal. And when it comes to head coach changes, these changes are transformational, involving a thoughtful process considering the perspective and input from many, many stakeholders, always seeking the betterment of our program. A head coach at Queens must be a very special person, an ethical and skilled tactician and practitioner of coaching sciences, someone with outstanding leadership characteristic, someone who holds a strong vision for our program and builds a strong culture in our program. They must also understand the importance of academic pursuits of a student athlete, contribute positively to the development of students and to help them reach their full potential, and respect the history, tradition of our university, our department, and program. And last but not least, and most importantly, they need to want to win. After a national search, I believe we found all of that and much more in our new head coach, Steve Snyder. Steve is just the fifth coach to lead the football program in 70 years, following in the footsteps of past iconic head coaches like Frank Tyndall, Doug Hargraves, Bob Howes, and of course Pat Sheehan. Snyder himself is a quarterback, a former quarterback. He comes to us with an extensive offensive background that includes a remarkable run with the Western Mustangs as their offensive coordinator for the past 2 years that saw them make back-to-back Vanier Cup appearances, including the 2017 Vanier Cup win. And when I was speaking to Steve's references, they described him as one of the brightest young minds in football in this country, who has an exceptional ability to teach the game. A great communicator who connects with his student athletes and recruits, fostering relationships with them as they progress through their football careers. And as meticulous in his planning and preparation, which has led to the dissection of many an opponent's defense. A self-professed football historian, Steve's eyes lit up, and he was both suitably impressed and excited when I pulled out a copy of Merv's Gale Force book that chronicles the history of Queen's football. Merv, quizzes for the future, I think Steve will be delighted to take part in those. Steve has coached provincially, nationally, and internationally, and has worked for 3 different Canadian university programs, resulting in a broad perspective that has shaped his coaching practices and philosophies. We are thrilled to have him as our head coach. He's already making an impact, and we are very much looking forward to him taking the reins of the program and to seeing the progression of the team under his leadership. I think you'll all enjoy getting the opportunity to know Steve a little bit better. Thank you again for coming today, and thank you for your continued support of the Gaels. I now will turn things over to Sean McDonald, our Sports Information Officer, who will move forward with today's program. And the last thing I'll say is, go Gaels. Thank you.
That was wonderful. And why don't we bring up Steve, man of the hour here. Put a round of applause for our We'll just start off with a couple questions for you that I'm sure a lot of people here are wanting to know a bit more about you, and then we'll open it up to the floor as well for questions. So Steve, just tell us a bit about why Queens and sort of your background and what made you decide that this was the opportunity you wanted to take.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for coming. Football in January, how about that? That's awesome. My background, I grew up in London, Ontario. Was always gravitating towards the game of football. It was always the sport that I loved the most. And, you know, I always wanted to be a football coach. I can remember coaching young kids in my backyard when I was just a young kid, and always loving the strategy of the game and just the history of the game and all that came with it. So I always loved being around football, whether it was practicing with the team and then driving by another practice and making my mom stop the car so I could go watch that team and hand balls off or fetch balls for a coach or talk to someone. I was always around the game. So that's kind of my background. And the game took me to St. Francis Xavier University to be a quarterback there and a student athlete at a great university, and I really enjoyed it. And then I was able to, well, I was unable to make the NFL or CFL. You know, as a 5'11" quarterback, they're just not knocking on your door. But I did have an opportunity to play in the German Football League, and that was a great opportunity for me to go and coach and play. And I was able to coach an under-18 team there. We won back-to-back state championships, and I was coaching young men where English was their second language. So I had to become a great communicator and use body language and teach the game. And I felt like an ambassador to the game of football, and it was a great experience. And I also played there and won a championship there, and that was awesome. I met my wife there, which was the championship that I really enjoyed winning. And then I came back and I was able to join the London Junior Mustangs in their first season. And we went undefeated and won the championship. And I worked with a staff that was actually made up of now 3 head coaches in Canadian university football. So for an OPFL staff, for an under kind of 19 area age group, our coaching staff was tremendous. And I learned a ton that summer. And then I joined the University of Windsor staff that fall, essentially the next day after the championship game finished in the summer. And Coach Demore brought me in and he said, hey, I know you were coming here to be the assistant receivers coach, but you're going to coordinate special teams. We practice tomorrow. So I said, all right. And I jumped all over that opportunity and became the recruiting coordinator there as well. And really just committed my life to helping Coach Demore build that football program. And when you go all in football, I think great things happen and people recognize it. And people recognized it, and Coach Waterman at St. Francis Xavier recognized it and brought me back to be the offensive coordinator at my alma mater. And that's a football team that, you know, hadn't won a playoff game. Anybody on that roster hadn't won a playoff game. And we ended up winning a playoff game in our first year and making it to the conference championship. And then our second year, we won the conference championship. And our third year, we won the conference championship again. And then Western came knocking. I had the opportunity to come home to London, Ontario, and join a strong program there under Coach Marshall, who to me is a living legend and a tremendous man and great father, great person. And we put something together that was really special there. And now, when Leslie gave me a call, my heart sunk, and it was just, okay, this is life now. This is what it was all meant to be. So, and here I am.
Great, very well-rounded background in football in different levels and experiences. Mm-hmm. Leslie touched on sort of the footsteps that you're following, and you're the 5th coach in 70 years in this program. What's that mean to follow such legends here at Queens?
Well, to me, that's what Queens is. It's a university full of legends and full of unbelievable stories and accomplishments. So, you know, I'm not going to put myself in that area just yet, but I'm going to bring in great people so that maybe one day they look back at our staff and say, hey, that was a great staff. That was a legendary staff. You know, Bob Howes, I had the opportunity to coach with Bob Howes at St. FX, and unbelievable man who I keep in close contact with to this day. So it means a lot, you know, to come to a program like Queens. Its story is second to none. Its accomplishments are second to none, and that means a lot to me. And things like KYA mean something to me now, and I'm just going to continue to build on that with our program and try to bring those things back where no surrender is our daily mentality as a football program. And our young men have already taken to that, and they're excited about it.
And another sort of tagline that's used a lot to describe Queen's student athletes is lead the way. And what does that sort of mean to you as a coach and as a leader?
It means a lot. It means we're going to set the standard. We don't need to look around at what else and what other people are doing, what else there is out there. We have everything we need to lead the way and to be the top university football program in this country. So we're just going to come up with our plans and set a new standard, and that the country can start to follow. And that's going to take some time, I'm sure, but we've got some things already that we're attacking now on a daily basis that I think are helping put us in that direction. And we want our young men to be leaders, you know, leaders on campus and in our community, and ultimately in future endeavors when they graduate.
And you have been busy, even though you've only been here for just a few weeks, but maybe take us through what you've been up to, signing some recruits, and then also you've got your coaching staff here as well. It'd be great to introduce them as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been busy. I've been working with the athletics department in meetings and getting a feel for the processes here. And then I've been working with our staff, you know, to recruit the best student athletes across the country. And it doesn't matter where they're from. If they're a high academic achiever and they're driven academically and they love football and they're respectful and responsible, well, we're going to give them a chance to come here and play. And so that's what we've been going about doing right now. And strength and conditioning is huge right now for our student athletes. They're in workouts essentially every day in a structured environment where they're attacking that with a no surrender type of attitude. And so that's what we're doing right now, attacking, recruiting, and building as a staff where we're all trying to get on the same page, which has been great. And they're so committed, and it makes it easy. You know, we stay late, we show up early, and they love it. And we love being around each other, and I'm certainly love being around our young men in our football program.
And you've rounded out the staff officially today. Not sure if everyone's seen that announcement, but why don't you introduce who we've got here with us today?
Yeah, well, first of all, Coach Ben D'Andrea, former player here, national champion, is our special teams coordinator and defensive backs coach. And then Coach Beckmanis, who you would all know, our defensive coordinator, assistant head coach, and he really, like Leslie said, held this ship together. And now he's right there in the captain's chair with me. And then we've got Coach Flaxman, Tom Flaxman, who we brought on officially today, was announced at 1 o'clock today, who's our new offensive coordinator. And Tom's a true professional, and he's worked at a number of different schools, and I've had the opportunity to, you know, we've talked a lot over the years, and we're on the exact same page offensively, and that's what's really great. And Tom is a proven recruiter. He's recruited the country at a number of different schools, and he's done a great job. And wherever you go recruiting, or when you talk to a recruit, you can tell that Tom has been there, and he's already in on the competition. So I feel like we just stole a great one, and he's another guy who just loves tradition and loves big time football. And as soon as he got the call from me, he was basically in. So we're excited to have him.
Well, there you go. A bit of breaking news for everyone as well. So why don't we take a few questions from the audience? I see Sue Bates with her hand. George might nod it down.
Hi Steve, welcome to the Queens family. Delighted to meet you today. I have a question regarding quarterbacks. So you had a pretty high profile signing this week, but I understand he's transitioning elsewhere, CFL aspirations, that's great. But by my count, you have 4 quarterbacks on the roster. I'm just curious what, if any, process you have for determining the starter. Season opener, August 25th, with Nate Hobbs' retirement. How are we going to figure out our next starter?
Great question. Quarterbacking, something that I truly love being around and working with, and I wish I could play, but I can't. But we have 4 quarterbacks on our roster, and we've signed young man Ryan Lecandro from the Ottawa area, who was Team Ontario's starting quarterback. So he would be widely considered maybe the top quarterback in Ontario, and he's signed a letter of intent to play here, and he's extremely excited, and he's a great fit. And then we actually have a verbal commitment from another young man who you'll be able to read about, I'm sure, pretty soon as well. And in terms of evaluating, I mean, the first thing is when a new head football coach comes in, I think we've got to wipe the slate clean for all the athletes on our team. And we want to reopen competition, okay? Because we're going to do things differently now. And we've got to see if the players on our roster and the incoming recruits can execute at a high level the way we want them to now in our new direction. So we're opening competition across the board at a number of positions, and certainly quarterback. Quarterback's about development. There's not a lot of young men, at the age of 17, 18 that are ready to come into our league and make a significant impact. It's very difficult. So they have to master things technically. They have to certainly grasp the playbook mentally and be able to execute it mentally, and they have to get to know their teammates and make people around them better. So that's our focus, is developing quarterbacks. And then in terms of evaluating quarterbacks, we try to create pressure game-like situations. Because when the quarterbacks are just throwing, on air, not against the defense, they all should look good. That's why they're at Queens. We don't let guys that can't throw come here, But we've got to present now offensive concepts, defensive concepts, and blow the whistle and let guys go full speed and see if the quarterback can execute in that environment. And that just comes down to being really organized. Managing the reps and keeping sheets that track how many repetitions each quarterback has had in practice and in which period, and make sure that we're going back and watching practice tape to see what type of production is actually taking place. But to me, the quarterback position is actually pretty simple. He's the distributor of the ball. He has to get the ball from point A to point B. Point A is the center, and point B could be anywhere. Okay, it could be one of 5 options down the field and he has to throw it, or it could be just simply the running back's stomach. But he's in charge of getting that ball from point A to point B, and he's in charge of making people better. And if he can do those 2 things, we may have something.
Thank you.
And Steve?
But you're going to have some big offensive line.
You got it.
Hi, Steve. George Jackson, former Gael. And I guess one of the challenges that when you have become Queens is the academic standards of the student athletes. Given that environment, what gets you excited about taking on the coaching role here with you and your staff? Going forward? What a couple of things that really get you excited about being in this program, other than
It starts with the student athletes on our team. I'm really excited about how motivated and driven they are academically and the type of aspirations they have for their future careers. So that's a great thing about Queens right off the bat, where kind of our admissions standards have something to do with that, the makeup of our roster. But we're all passionate about recruiting as well, and that's going to be a big part of our program. And the reason I'm here is, there's a number of reasons, but one of the reasons is I want to be able to go into a young man's home with him and his family, or have them into our building and be able to look him in the eye and say, we've got the best university in Canada. And if you can get in here and you've got a program that you like, why would you ever go anywhere else? Why would you sell yourself short on the quality of education and the type of reputable degree that you can take on into the real world by going somewhere else? So we look at it as a strength. We're going to scour the country through national recruiting strategies to find high academic achievers that are excellent football players and excellent people. And again, when we find those players, those 90 average players that are exceptional on the field as well, we've got to dedicate more time and energy and resources into that player than anyone else can. And we've got to show him why he needs to come to Queens. And Queens sells itself as soon as you start to do some research or set foot on campus.
Just raise your hand.
I don't need the mic, it's okay.
Neither do I, but I'm just following protocol.
Coach, you alluded to the new direction that you wanted to take this program. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So My philosophy in running a football program is really no different than running an organization. It's about culture. We've got to create a culture. And to create a culture, I can't do it alone. I've got to surround myself with great people. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure everyone that comes into our program, whether they're a student athlete, a coach, or someone working with our student athletes, that they're a great person that can add to our culture. And our culture has got to be based around the student athletes knowing that they will get more out of our football program than we could ever get out of them as a football player. We're providing them with more. Life skills, academic support, physical development, competition in terms of athletics, okay, camaraderie, networking, so many things that they see, hey, this is way more than just football here. I'm loving this. And that's the culture that we're going to create. And we've got some things in place that we're already doing. And the real thing we want to find in our program and we want to develop is reliability. We want everyone in our program to be reliable. We don't have to have the most talented team in the country. We just got to have a group full of reliable people that want to work together. And we'll be able to accomplish great things and bring a national championship. So we work daily on reliability. And that's actually the number one thing we're attacking with our football team is new standards of reliability. And it really revolves around communication. Our guys are now communicating at a higher level with their coaching staff and with their teammates as it relates to football functions, attendance, status in terms of their physical status, whether they're injured or not. We got to start to communicate more so that we know. Reliability is, being where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if everyone in our program knows that everyone in our program is doing that, we've got a chance to start to work together at a higher level and be successful. So that's the direction. The direction's based around a standard. It's based around culture. It's based around, the culture is based around reliability. And the student athletes got to know that they're getting a lot out of this. It's more, they're not just a football player. They're not an X or an O on a piece of paper. They're a human being that's going to be put onto an expressway for success as soon as they leave this program because of what we were able to talk to them about and teach them on a daily basis.
Hi, Lynn Hargraves. Yes, that was my father. You mentioned building a strong support staff, having talented people around you. That helps you celebrate the good times and buoy you up through the low times. And I have to say, one of the most important persons to do that would be your wife. I know my mom was to my dad. So I have to ask, is your wife happy here? Is she glad you came here?
That's unbelievable. No, you know what? That is, you get it. She gets football. She's been around football. She completely understands it. Possibly the person behind the scenes that might be most important to this football program and the direction it's going in is my wife. Because without her support, I'm not able to do my job. If she's not supportive, I'm not here. I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to be, cleaning toilets or doing something. I'll have to get out of football because you need a partner that's 100% on board. And my wife Lisa's on board. She's been on board since I met her in Germany. And I said, all right, it's time to go. We're going back to Ontario. I'm going to go to teacher's college. I don't have a job yet. And you're going to leave the world's leading gas meter and burner manufacturing company as a department manager to come with me. And she did. And we've moved a number of times. We moved from Germany to London, London to Windsor, Windsor to Antigonish, Antigonish to London, London to Kingston. And she hasn't wavered at all. And during the season, we put in a lot of time. I mean, we're early in the morning till very late at night. Sometimes it's 15 minutes I'll see her in the morning. And that's it. And again, she's on board. She'll be wearing tricolor. She'll be in the stands. She'll be baking cookies and muffins for our coaches, and she wants to have the coaches' wives over to our place on the road games so they can watch the TV and make dips and breads and stuff and do all that stuff. So she's awesome. She's on board, and she's actually still in London right now, and we're kind of working that transition right now. But she's allowed me to just come here and put in all the time I need to get this job started. But that's an unbelievable question. I'm looking forward to her getting here to meet everyone.
Yeah.
I would need mine. Coach, one of the things that some of us, by the way, it's welcome to a room full of critics.
I was hoping it was a room full of crickets, but
We're not responsible to anything that there was criticism until we get home.
Yeah.
One of the things that you pick up when you're sitting in the stands and you're listening to people talk about the games, etc., is we'd like something to be exclusively Queen. Like a new wrinkle, whatever the case may be. There were times over the last year, many years, that I've watched football here in this area, that it got to know that a certain team would come in and they would have a certain standard of what they did. I'll give you an example. If you went to a good coaching clinic in Ontario or in Eastern Canada, you knew that one of the best presentations was going to be the Western offensive line. The guy would bring the whole crew in and they would show you just about anything you wanted to know about how to deal with Western. And that became their trademark almost. Queens had a number of things that they did better than anybody else. They just always did it better than anybody else. That's a good thing to have.
It's an identity. That's right. Yeah.
I'd like to see it again where we not only take the best of other places, which we all do as coaches, but we come up with something that's new and innovative, that's exclusively at Queens. So the people will say, boy, you play against them, you're going to run into this. Mm-hmm. And that would be a good thing to have.
Yeah. Well, I think our identity moving forward, and I think the fit for Queens, is we're going to teach the game better than any other staff. That's our goal. So when you go to a coach's clinic and you get to hear the Queens coach, you're going to be listening to the best teacher of the game of all the other coaches. That's my goal. And when you watch us play, you're going to see a sound, intelligent team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. We're not necessarily going to be flashy, but we're going to try to play mistake-free football to the best of our abilities because we're going to rely on reliability and that intelligence factor that I believe we'll have that comes from the type of players that we'll recruit here, but it also comes from the way our coaching staff will teach. And certainly the line of scrimmage is something we're going to build. That's our number one priority. A lot of people think the quarterback, and certainly we want to find the quarterback. But the offensive line and the defensive line, and especially that interior defensive line, that's where it's actually what it's all about. We've got to get the best guys there that are technical, physical, relentless, and we've got to build depth there where we have great backups and great players that are waiting their turn to play and are developing. So hopefully in the very near future, when you watch Queens football, that line of scrimmage is just being dominated on a daily basis, on a year-to-year basis. The Queens has the best line of scrimmage play in the conference and in the country. And that's where we're going to try to work forward towards.
We have time for one more question. In terms of the lead the way slogan, that's something that definitely applies on the field with our athletics, but it's also something that extends into our community. I'm wondering what your coaching staff and what your attitude is towards how to move that forward in terms of the team's relationship with the community and leading in that way.
Mm-hmm. The type of student athletes that we're going to bring into our program have to be, we look for three things: a driven student athlete academically, passionate about the process of football, and respectful and responsible. And that respectful and responsible one really is critical for our campus and our community. And we're going to teach our players to be outgoing. We want our players to let it go, let it out. We want them to come onto the football field and be excited and not hold things back. And we want them to be engaged, and don't be afraid to cheer at an event. And don't be afraid to go introduce yourself to someone. We worked on handshakes on Tuesday night. We had our entire team in a team meeting, and we have a program called Gael for Life. And what we did Tuesday night was a handshake seminar where we taught our guys how to shake hands correctly. And they went around and gave feedback to each other and things like that. And those are things, just characteristics that we want them to develop so that they're better in our community when they do go out there. But we've got Brianna on board that's going to work with our guys, and we're going to get them out into the community, whether it's elementary schools, it's stuff they're already doing. We've talked about championing a cause. We want to have an annual cause in the Kingston area that everyone knows. This time of the year, the Queens football team is showing up, or they're going to be around, and this is what they're doing. They're trying to raise awareness and funds for something that can help this community. and it's something that you can rely on. So what more could we ask for in selling a program and committing our lives to a program? We've got a great community, we've got a great university, we've got a prestigious football program. And now I get to genuinely talk to young people across the country and tell them that. And I can say it with the utmost sincerity because it's true. This is the most traditional program there is in the country. It's the best university. It's an unbelievable town. It's unbelievable. All right.
Steve, why has Western been so successful? Because we have a lot of good people in Kingston who pay big bucks to watch these guys. Can you just give me a Coles Note version of why they're so successful?
I think they've done a really good job coaching the game. You know, it's a really well-coached football team, and they've done a great job recruiting good players, and they've done a great job when the players are there creating a culture where players want to work hard, and they want to care about each other, and they care more about the team's success than they do necessarily about their own stats, and that's the truth. And I think we got the exact same thing here. We just may have to bring a new energy towards it, and
So
maybe
you don't
reignite
let
it.
the quarterback run?
There's always a time and a place, all right? But I'll tell you what, my philosophy as a coach is we want the quarterback to run, but we want it to be very situational. You know, if we're up 50 in the fourth quarter, we're not running the quarterback. But if it's 3rd and 1, we're running the quarterback. So we just got to be really smart the way we do things. Great.